Right, just going to do a bit of a tech talk on what I do to these late model twin cam cylinder heads to upgrade the valve train. Basically what happens, the twin cam cylinder heads from the factory run these 7mm stem valves with a triple collet groove style collet, which is designed to allow the valve to rotate, which is okay on a standard engine, standard spring tension, but as soon as you start asking more of it, it's not a good way of keeping the retainer onto the valve. These collets will actually butt together and the valve spins inside these 3 collet grooves, which it's only grabbing on the corners of the collet groove, which is not a real strong way to do it. So what I do is I go to the conventional 5/16 Manly stainless valve and go to the old style single collet groove style way of retaining the valve. And what I'll do is I'll use a crane SD valve lock, which is a pretty heavy duty valve lock, so you get a lot of keeper retention in the retainer. So that's a factory 1132 style keeper, and this is the crane SD, so you'll see the difference between the thickness of the collet. It's like double the thickness, so it aids in its strength. And I'll use a crane double spring. So this is what we use on car stuff, Cleveland's, Holden's, whatever. You know, I'll always shoot to install it at 1.8 inches, which will give 150, 155 on the seat, which most cams, that's suitable for the most of the Harley range of cams. I'll set the heads up so they'll take about 650 lift, like valve stem steel to retainer clearance will be set, and the coil bond on the spring is way good enough for a bit over 650, sort of 670, 680. Most cams, the biggest SNS one's 640 sort of thing, so that'll cover any camshaft these guys will want to put in. So I'll set it up for that, so then they don't have to change any of that later. So what I'll do with these as well is I put a guide in with a step on the top of the guide so that the guide can't fall into the engine. Runs a conventional 530 style Teflon seal on the top, so we can use a crane Teflon seal on there. So I will use these spring cups, which locates the inner spring nicely. It's a nice hardened seat, and run the crane doubles with the crane retainer and the SD locks, so it's a nice strong fit, and it's pretty unbreakable stuff. I mean, you have to do some crazy stuff to that to break that. That's nice collet retention in the retainer. Real good setup. Another thing on valve springs, this is a factory twin cam spring. That'll take around 520 lift sort of thing, but usually with a spring, you'll see how compared to the crane double, the spring's really tall. Usually that'll tell you the quality of the wire, the spring wire. If it relies on a real long free length, then it compresses down to a certain installed height and runs a very long free length. You can usually gives you an indication that the spring wire quality is junk. So I mean, these springs are okay for factory cams and everything else, but Manly do a good single beehive spring kit, which is good for up to 600, but I tend to set them up with the crane doubles, because if you do have a spring breakage, at least you've got another spring to hold the valve up so that the valve doesn't go into the engine and destroy the motor. That's one advantage. And another advantage is because the Harley valve is fairly heavy, the counterwound inner and outer spring controls the spring harmonics pretty well, and most of them are hydraulic cams, and RPM range is sort of 6,500 max most of the time, so that will survive in them really good. So yeah, that's what I do to upgrade these twin cams. Anything sort of from 88 cube, sort of mid 2000s through to present time. Yeah.